The San Francisco 49ers are making waves again, and this time it involves a strategic move that could change the landscape of their roster. With a big contract restructure in play, the team is eyeing the future while still aiming for success. Who's the player at the center of this maneuver? Stay tuned, because you won't want to miss how this could impact our playoff run. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to keep up with all the latest 49ers news. Hey 49ers fans! Today, I want to dive into some significant news regarding our beloved team that could shape our future. The San Francisco 49ers have reportedly restructured defensive tackle Javon Hargrave's contract, and this move has some intriguing implications for both our roster and our salary cap. First off, let's talk numbers. Hargrave initially signed a 4-year deal worth $84 million, with $40 million guaranteed. But with this recent restructure, his base salary has plummeted from $19.9 million down to just $2.1 million. That's a huge drop. This shift lowers his cap number from $28.1 million to $10.3 million. Why is this important? Well, it gives the 49ers some much-needed flexibility as they look ahead to the salary cap challenges looming in 2025. Now, if Hargrave doesn't perform up to par or struggles to regain his pre-injury form, the 49ers have set themselves up nicely to release him post-June 1. Originally, cutting him would have hit us hard, with a cap penalty of about $24.86 million. But with this restructuring, if they decide to part ways with him, they'd only be looking at around $5 million in dead money. That's a significant difference. Plus, if Hargrave remains injured, his cap hit could drop to just $8.6 million in 2025, pushing some of that financial burden to 2026. This type of contract maneuvering is eerily similar to what we saw with Deebo Samuel earlier this year. The 49ers have been creative, finding loopholes that allow them to manage the salary cap while keeping the players they value. If they move on from Deebo, they would absorb about $5 million in dead money, but the savings in the long run could exceed $12 million. And with Hargrave, if he's released this summer at 32 years old, the cap savings could be around $15 million in 2026. It's all about strategic planning, folks. I have to admit, while I appreciate the foresight and financial savvy, I'm also feeling a bit torn. Every time we restructure a contract or consider releasing a player, it brings an emotional weight. Hargrave was brought in to be a cornerstone of our defensive line, and now we're talking about possibly letting him go. You believe this was the best decision? I, honestly, am divided. On one hand, it makes sense financially, but on the other, it leaves me concerned about our defensive depth. So, what does this mean for our chances this season and beyond? The 49ers are clearly trying to keep the roster intact while also preparing for Brock Purdy's future contract. Don't be surprised if Purdy's cap hit in the first year of his extension is surprisingly low, only to escalate in year 2. This could be a tactical move to allow the team to maintain competitive depth while locking down our quarterback of the future. And let's face it, as fans, we're all invested in seeing our team succeed. The decisions made now will impact not just the upcoming season, but also our aspirations for years to come. The thought of potentially losing a player like Hargrave is daunting, but it's all part of the business side of football. I want to hear from you. What do you think about this restructure? Are you comfortable with the direction the 49ers are heading? Are we sacrificing too much for short-term cap relief? Share your thoughts, expectations, and frustrations in the comments below. The San Francisco 49ers continue to make headlines, and not always for the right reasons. Recently, the fallout from the Trey draft pick has only grown more pronounced, and as a die-hard Niners fan, I can't help but feel a mix of frustration and curiosity about what could have been. Remember when we traded up to the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft to select Lance? It's hard to believe that just 2 years later, He's barely seen the field. For starts in 2 years, that's it. Now he's traded to the Dallas Cowboys, where he hasn't even gotten a chance to show what he can do. And according to Jerry Jones, it doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. This situation puts a massive spotlight on the Niners' decision-making. Did we really make the right call by moving up for Lance? With the Cowboys currently sitting at 5-8 and their playoff hopes diminishing, it would make sense for them to see what they have in the former first-rounder, but they're sticking with Cooper Rush. That's telling. It feels like a validation of the doubts many of us had back when Lance was drafted. The more time passes, the clearer it becomes that the 49ers dodged a bullet by trading him when they did. Looking back, it's surreal to think that while Lance was the 3rd overall pick, we've found our golden nugget in Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant in the 2022 draft. Purdy stepped up in a way that turned the tide for this team. He led us to the NFC Championship game and then to the Super Bowl in just his 2nd year as a starter. Now we have to consider what this means for our future, especially with the inevitable contract discussions looming for Purdy. Do we believe he's the long-term answer? I think he's proven his worth, but it's a delicate balance we have to strike. We traded Lance for a 4th-round pick, and that pick turned into Malik Mustafa, who has already started 9 games as a rookie. Just think about that for a second, 9 games, compared to Lance's 4 in 2 years. It's hard not to feel a sense of relief that the 49ers managed to turn a questionable draft choice into a player who is contributing right away. But let's be real, this whole situation raises questions about the scouting department and how they evaluate talent. Will we see a shift in strategy moving forward? Are we going to be more cautious when it comes to trading up for quarterbacks in the future? The crazy part is that most teams that made the mistake of trading up for a bust like Lance wouldn't be in the Super Bowl conversation just 3 years later. But here we are, and I believe our success hinges on the surprising emergence of Brock Purdy. It makes you wonder, how different would the narrative be if Purdy hadn't stepped up? Would we still be lamenting the Lance pick, or could we have been in a similar position? As fans, our emotions are deeply tied to these decisions. So, I'm curious, what do you think? Do you believe that trading Lance was the right move, or should we have held on to him a bit longer to see if he could develop? Personally, I'm divided. Part of me wants to be optimistic about what could have been, but another part recognizes the reality of the situation. And that's what makes being a fan so exhilarating and frustrating all at once. I want to hear your thoughts on this. How do you feel about the direction the 49ers are taking? Do you think the front office is making the right calls, or are they missing the mark? Please share your expectations and frustrations in the comments below. Your insights matter, and I can't wait to read what you all have to say. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated on all things 49ers, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow fans, and subscribe to the channel for the latest news and analysis. And remember to hit that notification bell to catch every single update. Let's keep the conversation going, and as always, go Niners!